Hi, folks. It's Friday night, and we have to do it. We have to talk about trans people and queers and gayness. And I won't mention the W word, though. This would be straight. The W word is the big, is the big thing. But this is just the small, the fractional part of it. One part of the big W is that trans, men and women, what is men, the patriarchy, feminism. And the thing is, of course, I'm a straight gay male, right? So oops. I hope no one heard that. I'm a straight gay. I'm a straight white male. So, an old white man, right? And so, of course, I'm going to feel threatened, and people do feel threatened by this whole movement. That's a lot of why I believe that's a lot of why there's a pushback from the right. When I was growing up in Hawaii in the 70s, it seemed like these problems were being solved. It seemed like I didn't know anyone, even in my church, my conservative church in Hawaii. I was raised a Mormon, right? They're all very conservative. We knew there were some, gays, but no one, no one disparaged them. No one insulted them. It was like, I'm sure there were, some people, attacking gays or attacking whatever, and of course there's plenty of racism in Hawaii too and all that. But it seems like that problem was being solved and that people were, much more accepting of marginalized groups, as we call them now. Other people with different lifestyles. They just said, okay, he's gay. Who cares? Maybe they make a joke about it, but they don't throw rocks at him. They don't, But now it seems like everything has become so violent and loud and shouty and politicized, and that's what this is about. It's about politicizing the movement. It's about the politicization of it. And that makes everyone upset and makes people feel threatened, and they are threatened. And the conservatives have, a right to be conservative, to think what they want to think, and they are being threatened by the left. The left want to think that they are the horrible people, that they're evil, that they're stupid, and that they, will destroy the world, and they want to put their ideology on the right and stop the conservatives from thinking what they want to think. That's true. It is. They are being attacked. They are under attack, and so they have the right. And it's natural to feel threatened. I feel more sorry for the conservatives than I do for the right. I think the right is, at this point, maybe it wasn't that way in the past, but I think the left. I think the left at this point is more aggressive and more at fault for polarization than the right is, than the conservatives are. Anyway. But I was talking to a friend. I wasn't talking to him. I was doing a Facebook messaging with a Facebook friend, and he had said something about the LGBT community. I know what I did. I had put in Facebook and asked some Germans about how they saw the whole trans issue, and there wasn't much reaction. It seemed to me that. It seemed to me that the Germans don't really care about it that much. They don't. There are, trans people in Germany, and there are I looked it up. There are a certain amount of trans people have their sex changed, every year. They transition medically, right? And it's a very small group, of course, and an even smaller, tinier group of these are underage or under 18. And in Germany, it's very regulated. So you have to have 2 years of sessions with two different psychiatrists or something like that, who have to say yes, he can be transitioned. He can have his genitals cut off, so they take it very seriously, and it's regulated, and it's very difficult to do, but it's possible, but the fact that it's regulated, I think, lets them not worry about it that much because they think, oh, it's fair enough. It could be, we have people working on it, psychiatrists who talk to these kids or young people or men and women who want to do this absolutely life-changing, altering thing, which is not a small thing. You have your penis cut off, have your breast cut off. It's not, like wearing, a red dress to your sister's wedding. It's more than that. It's big. So the state says you cannot do this unless you jump through certain hoops, and I think that's fair. And I think most Germans think it's fair, and it has not been politicized in Germany. It's not this. Cheers, by the way. This is a watered down whiskey. It's become one of my favorite, everyday whiskeys. It's a Jim Beam Devil's Cut, it's called, and it's Devil's Cut is, I don't know, it's probably some fake marketing thing, but I like it. It's the only Jim Beam I like. No, I like Jim Beam Rye also, but the normal Jim Beam I'm not a fan of. And there's a great Jim Beam liqueur also. Anyway, okay, I'm getting off. And this is watered down Devil's Cut. It's quite good. And it's Friday night, so I can drink whiskey. But so one of my German friends replied and said, this and that. I since I came out, and I didn't know he had come out in any way, and so I wrote back and said, well, wait, are you trans? And he said, no, but I am a cross-dresser. And so he cross-dresses. And that raised a lot of other questions, like, what does his wife say? Is if you're a cross-dresser but not gay, are you part of the LGBT community? Is that, so it's actually very interesting. I just answered tonight. I'm going to maybe get some answers. Very interesting guy. He says he always wanted to, wear women's clothes, and now he can publicly, and he does it. And sometimes he gets, dirty comments, but most of the time he doesn't. And it's worth it for him, and he likes it, and it's liberating. It's liberating. It's it's freedom he feels. And hey, so that's a great thing. I mean, if you wanted all your life to be something, or that you want to be something else than what you are, and you feel, tamped down and restricted all your life, God, you got to get out of it at some point. And relatively late in life, he's a grown guy. He went out and did it, and I asked him in my message back tonight if he's happy. I think I asked him he sounded happy with it. So, and I have things. I have a feeling. I've always had a feeling like I want to be free. I want to break out. I want to do something completely different. I want to break all the rules. There's some kind of fulfillment out there that is not here, what I am. But then when I think, well, what would I do? I throw everything away and go to Mexico and, run a bar on the beach. I would get bored. I wouldn't do that. That's not what I want to do. Have sex with a lot of women. Well, first of all, a lot of women don't want to have sex with me. And secondly, at my age, it's not the big thing, and plus these women, once you have sex with them, you cannot get rid of them. It's just, it's not what sexual freedom is not what it's, cracked up to be. Take drugs, but I would just get addicted. It's not, this is not, it's kind of, I'm a little bit jealous. I'm not really jealous, but, he has this thing. And it is his idea of what I would do if I were free, what I want to do if I can break free of these bonds of normal life. It's a specific thing. He knows what it is. It's cross-dressing. He wants to, wear high heels. He likes high heels. Okay, I don't understand liking high heels. It's I don't like shoes in general. I'm from Hawaii, we don't wear shoes. I never understood the concept of shoes until I got to Germany, and you're walking through snow all day. But if he likes high heels, then that's. It seems like if if you have this feeling like you're being unfulfilled and you want to break out and find your real true self, and you know what it is, and it's, cross-dressing, or it's trans, or it's gay, or it's whatever, then you should do that. It seems and that's a wonderful thing. Because you know what it is. You can say what it is. That sounds like like a blessing to me, like an advantage. Like I'm a little bit jealous of that he had this thing that he could name. But the whole trans thing, I mean, I would say that's a positive. That's a very positive result of this whole politicization of the trans issue. That this guy could do that, and probably a lot of other people too. So okay, so there's that. But I'm still so skeptical about it. There was an email today by from not an email, a newsletter. Andrew Sullivan, I think it was. Conservative gay, and he complained that he felt this whole the politicized trans movement was erasing homosexuality, erasing gays. It used to be, you were gay, you were a guy, and you wanted another guy. Now you can't be gay, you have to be, a trans man. So you're a man, you become a woman. But then you're a lesbian woman, and you're attracted to women like you were when you were a man. And so what I mean, it's like you could have done that when you were a guy, and you would have been a heterosexual attracted to women. But that's not enough. You have to be, a trans woman, lesbian, attracted to men. And it's like, and he complained, and it was a really good article, which I skimmed through, a good newsletter. And he complained that this whole movement is kind of erasing what it meant to be just gay. All they wanted was the right to lead normal lives and have a different sexual orientation. But now it's not about that. It's about being different. You have to be somehow queer or out of the mainstream or marginalized in some way. And so when you see this rise, a sudden statistical rise in people who are pretending or saying that they're trans in some way, and a lot of young girls or young boys are doing this, and the suspicion is, and I know that a lot of people say that's a Republican line, but I take it seriously. I think there is a certain basis to the suspicion that people are driven to do something that they don't really. It's not natural. They don't have a sexual. They're not born in the wrong body. They're not trans. They're not even homosexual. They have to be trans because society tells them that what they are now is not enough, is not good. It's not good to be, the average guy. The average, average in America would be white male, white female, right? But that's not good enough. And so you have to somehow be something else and be some kind of, some kind of minority or a victimized class. And I think there is something to that. I imagine when, you're a kid and you're growing up and you're confused and you're looking at this world and it's so daunting and so frightening. And it is. And it is threatening and dangerous, the world, and it's tough to get through. It's hard. Life is hard, And I can imagine there's just saying, it maybe would be better if I were the other sex. And there are theories about this. There are theories that that the modern ideologies that we adhere to are saying something that they don't think they're saying. Like, for example, feminism and the patriarchy. The basis, of course, is, equal rights for men and women. That completely makes sense. It's, you think back in the 50s, and, you're a woman, you need permission from your husband to open a bank account. That's, come on, that's not, there's, in no world is that, is that good. And so that was absolutely right? So that made sense. But at the same time, feminism goes one step further and says, you as a woman, you should want everything that a man has, because what men have is better than what you have. They have, money, power, career, and that's better. That is what you should be wanting. You shouldn't be oriented toward raising children or making a home or whatever it is, however you want to define that you should not be doing, because that is inferior to what men do. So men are actually better. Feminism says men are evil and bad and horrible, but at the same time, it says you should be more like men. You should want the things that men want. You should compete with men. And in the men's world, be a part of man's world. They don't say, men, no one says, to men, it's better to stay home and bear children. What you guys are doing, you're trying to be, have a career at Google. That's silly. No one says that. No one says what a woman has is better than what a man has. What they're saying is that what a man has is better than what a woman has. So if you're a young girl growing up like that, hearing that every day, that what you have as a woman is inferior to what a man has, and that you should do your best to try to be like a man, then, along comes trans ideology, and it says, just a snip here and a snip there, and you can be a man. Maybe they say, well, that it'll, life is going to be tough, and it's, I'm 15 years old, looking at, graduating from high school. I'm on my own. I don't want. It's scary. I don't want to do this. I'll become a man, and then I can do it, because because men are better. And the same thing goes in the opposite direction, because I know I clearly as a man, and any men out there, what I'm talking about. You grow up and you hear constantly how horrible men are. Men are, they hit their women. They drink. They eat meat. They think only of money and career. They're constantly fighting. Sports are so silly. Of course, now that women do sports, they don't say that anymore. But back up into the 80s, women will always say, "I never understood these men. They're chasing a ball from one end of the field to the end of the field. That makes no sense to me. It's so stupid. And the men are stupid." Of course, but since when women got into sports, then they don't say that anymore. But they used to say that right up to the 80s. I heard it like every day, and it's. Men are also always sexually inadequate. Men are, they think that this is 9 inches and this is 9 inches, or whatever, these jokes about, and the 5 minutes they need for sex, and they don't understand, where a clitoris is, and this and that. Men are sexually inadequate, always. Men are always, stupid, dumb, sexually inadequate, violent, horrible people. And I heard that all my life growing up. Constantly. I thought it was charming, because everyone thinks, that's what you should say, and that's okay to say that. But when I got older, I'm thinking, Jesus, what are you telling these young boys? You're constantly telling them that they're horrible creatures just because they're, because they have a penis. For fuck's sake, stop telling these kids that they're horrible. And so, and it's really true. And so I can imagine, these young kids, they're growing up saying, boys are horrible, men are horrible. And they say, well, we got a solution now. I can snip, cut it off. And then I can, hormones, and I can even be, the better girl, because, I'll show these girls how to be girls. I'll put the lipstick, the makeup will be perfect. I got the whole, the high heels, I got it down. I can do this, And so they get really ambitious about it. That's why there are drag queens, but no drag kings, because women are not that ambitious. They want to be, sexy and alluring to a certain point, but not with it ambitious that is driven by testosterone. Men are driven by testosterone to compete, to do everything better. And so when they, become women, they do it better. They want to, I'm going to be the superior woman. It's, what can I say? Testosterone-driven competition to be the best woman. But I think there may be something to that. I think that we are taking the natural confusion of life and the natural fears of growing up, and we're magnifying it, and we're saying it's even worse than you thought it was. It's even worse than you feel it is. It's who you are is terrible. And it's horrible to be what you are. You have to be something else. And so then we try to become something else. Maybe, I don't know. And there's so many things. I don't think the feminists realize that that's what they're saying to the girls, that it's not good to be a girl. It's not good to be female. And I don't think that women, when they tell men, or men when they say it to men, that, it's not, men are violent and you have to control yourself because you are inherently evil, that they know that what they're really saying, that they don't understand what they're saying. I think a lot of people don't understand what they're saying in life. For example, an example of the trans thing. There's this saying that you have from feminism in the 70s, there's no difference between men and women. And the reason you have this saying is because when women were wanted equal rights and wanted to do the jobs that men do, they wanted to vote, right? Kind of makes sense. They wanted to vote. And so men would say, well, women are so emotional. And so the answer to that was, there's no difference between men and women. Men are emotional too, and women et cetera. And so, and it's women want to be astronauts and be soldiers. Well, no, they're not going to know what in a crisis they can't. And they're saying, no, there's no difference between men and women. So the saying, there's no difference between men and women, it became an important thing to say in the fight for equal rights, and it had a place. It would, it was a good saying. So and useful, but since then it's just become independent, like a truth that everyone believes, or that some people believe in general, independent of its purpose. And so now when we say, well, men and women, there's no difference between men and women. There are, men can be, there are men with penises and men with vaginas. There, all this. There's no difference. There's no. But in fact, now saying that there's no difference between men and women is really actually transphobic. It really is, because it denies everything that the basis for being trans. Because when you're trans, you grow up as a boy and you want to be a woman, a girl. And why? Because you don't feel like you're a boy. You feel like you're a woman. So you see the difference between a man and a woman. And in order to change, to go from man to woman, you do a lot of effort. You put a lot of work into it. You put a lot of money into it. You have to cut everything up. You have to change everything. You have to take hormones every day of your life. I think you never stop. You never stop taking hormones, right? Because the body continues to produce its natural hormones all your life, I think. if I understand. At least you have to do it a lot. Okay, I don't understand. But you have to take hormones because you have to change yourself to be the other sex, which implies, of course, that there is a huge difference between men and women. And the huge difference is not only, in the genitals, it's not only in the body structure, it's a lot of it is in the hormones. And if you look up what hormones do, just the basic, testosterone, estrogen tends to make you a little more communicative, a little more nurturing. It tends to make you a little less aggressive. Testosterone tends to make you a little more aggressive. It makes you strive for social dominance. That's when I looked up testosterone, that's the word that kept coming up. Social dominance and aggression. You are a competitor. You are a fighter. You're out there you want to achieve something in life. And that's what testosterone does. Of course, some people have more or less, and it does, so there's a wide spectrum. That's fine. But there is a huge difference between men and women. And the proof of that is the trans movement. And so trans people or queer people or whatever, everyone is a gender specialist now, a gender expert. So they will say, well, there's no difference between men and women. And therefore, a man has a right to take hormones to be not a man, but to be a woman. And they don't understand that they don't see that that's the contradiction. They don't see that you're actually doing the opposite of what you're saying, because if a man feels like he's not a man, he's really a woman, and he has to change himself to be a woman, then clearly he knows what the difference is between a man and a woman, or at least has an idea of that there is that difference. And he has an idea of what a woman is. Otherwise, he wouldn't, grow boobs, because he thinks a woman has boobs. That's what he defines a woman as, boobs and wearing a dress. Right? That's how he defines a woman, and that's different from being a man. That's what he wants to be. So there is a huge difference. But people don't say, they don't see that there's a contradiction between the saying there's no difference between man and woman and and trans rights or human rights. There's a contradiction between those two terms. And there's all kinds of stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of people don't understand. I think feminists don't understand that they're telling young women that they are inferior to men. I think men and women don't understand that when they tell men that they're evil, that they are shooting themselves in the foot. Because if men don't want to be men anymore, society is not going to work as well as it used to. There's even this thing in the trans thing where people say, there's a saying that trans people have. It's an old saying. It goes back to the 70s, 60s. I was born in the wrong body. And I think when people say that, they don't really know what they're saying. I was born in the wrong body. That is a religious statement. It's religious. It means it's a religious, it presupposes a religious view on life. Which means that if you were born into the wrong body, you existed before the body. Therefore, you had a soul or a spirit or whatever you want to call it that exists independent of and before the physical body, before life on earth. And that's a religious concept, of course. It means that you really think if you really believe what you're saying, that you existed in some form before the physical body. So that's the primacy of the soul. And the primacy of the soul is a religious concept. It's about God, right? It's about God and a life beyond the physical realm. And the opposite of that is the scientific view or the biological view. Biology says, no, the soul did not come before the body. You have the body, and then because you have the mind, and the mind has evolution and hormones and everything like that, it grows into self-consciousness. And at some point, the mind is so advanced that it recognizes that it is itself. It sees itself and says, I am I. And then it asks itself, who am I? What is I? What is the meaning of life? What is, and this and that. So this soul, the spirit, the mind, this thing that we think of as, that we can interpret as a soul or a spirit, comes out of the body. Was not independent of the body. So it's the primacy of the body, of the physical world. The physical world comes first, and then out of that comes some kind of self-consciousness, self-reflection, some kind of, the troubled spirit of trying to figure out what the meaning of life is before we die and hoping that there is something after death. Okay. Science, biology says there is nothing after death. There was nothing before life. It's all a function. It's just an illusion in your head that is a function of your brain, of your biology, of your organism. And it's just telling you that, to look around and to see that you are yourself and that, all this stuff. So when trans people say, I was born in the wrong body, they usually don't think it, or they might not think it, but they're actually saying something that is religious, in basically religious. And if they didn't say it like that, if they said it the other way around, if they said, I was born into this body and this body is what I'm naturally supposed to be, because there's nothing else. I was born out of this. This body is what created me. I was created out of this body. Therefore, my body is the actual thing that I'm supposed to be. There's nothing wrong with the body. There's something wrong with my mind. If I don't think I belong in this body, then it's not the body's fault. It's my fault. My mind is something wrong, and then I have to take pills, right? Because I can't, because there's something wrong with me. And of course you can't say that. You're not going to, who would say that? So you have to say something. You cannot say something that a scientist would say. You have to say something that a religious person would say, which is, I was born to the wrong body. When I came down to earth, there was some mistake in the bureaucracy of some, heavenly, bureaucracy, some heavenly intelligence that makes a decision. You go to this body, you just go to this body, and he made a mistake with me. He made a mistake. It's an honest mistake. He made a mistake. Put me in the wrong body. I'm supposed to be in that body over there. Jill, she has my body. It's a great body. I would, but I can't, Jill, I can ask Jill to give it back. She's not going to give it back, but it's my body. And this is actually Jill's body, and she doesn't want it. Who would, so it's weird, this corner we've painted ourselves into of trying to think about our lives, but with so many different ways of thinking about it and so much confusion about what it is really is what we're doing and saying. It seems like we have of our own choice and of our own free will added to the confusion of this life and added to how difficult this life is. And it doesn't need to be this difficult. We could just, like the caveman, there were no trans cavemen. They were just bodies doing what bodies do, right? Or like a cat, there's no trans cat because the cat doesn't care. It just wants to eat and sleep. That's what the cat, it's a body, right? And if we would be a little bit more like those bodies and just accept our biology, probably we would be happier. Or maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe there were trans cavemen who said, I don't want to go out hunting the mammoth. I want to stay home and build the fire. I don't know. The only thing I do know for sure is that we live in a confused and complicated world, and it's not going to get any clearer. It's only going to get more complicated. There are only going to be more mental health problems. There is only going to be more confusion, more threats to our, personal identity, more belligerence from the left and the right, and from the man and the woman and the white and the black, and more conflict and more polarization. And life is going to be very hard to navigate. And all throughout history, life has been difficult to navigate. life has been difficult to get through when it's been confusing, but we have always gotten through it, and we can get through it. There is no challenge we will be given in life that we cannot overcome or rise to. And that goes for me, it goes for all of us, it goes for you. If you have some kind of challenge that you're worried about, if you have something to overcome, let me tell you that you can overcome it. You can manage this life. You can cut through the confusion of this life on earth and find some kind of clarity for yourself, even if other people don't like it. That I wish you. I wish that you, like my cross-dressing friend, Facebook friend, have some life that you imagine that is good for you. And I wish you that you would find that life and be happy. That's my wish for you. Good night.